What's up, you beautiful chuds? Welcome to the Let's Talk Horror channel. Welcome to the Creepzone, and welcome to my new side series, Tales from the Creepzone. This is my new side series where I am going through every episode of every season of Tales from the Crypt. Now they have been added to Shudder. Hopefully by now they're all added to Shudder, but at some point they're all going to be on there, and I'm going to be watching them all, and I'm going to go through them all. As I say, individually, each episode, per episode, I'm going to be talking about them. And on each of these episodes, I'm going to be talking about 3 of the episodes of whatever season I'm talking about. And of course, when we get to the end of the season, if there's an odd 1 or 2, I'll save that for the last one. But we are still near the start of, or sort of in the middle of season 2. With season 2, I think the jump up from like season 1 with 6 episodes, and now we're on to like 18 episodes, which is absolutely insane. But it really is becoming, you know, the Tales from the Crypt that we really know and love. Not necessarily everything about it, because of course, if you've seen the previous episodes, you'll know that some of the episodes, I think, you know, sort of suck pretty much. And then there's some absolutely fantastic. But we'll see what happens with this 3 that we've got coming up. So on this episode, we're going to be talking about episode 7, 8, and 9 of season 2. So let's get into episode 7. So episode 7 is called The Sacrifice. An ambitious insurance investigator who is manipulated by a married woman and her secret lover into murdering her wealthy husband into a twisted plot of deceit. Straight away, this is a weird one when it gets off the bat, because we have, of course, the iconic intros with the Crypt Keeper himself. But this one's a little bit weird, because I'm pretty sure he turns around and mentions that he fucks a goat, because he's trying to get a virgin sacrifice, and then the camera pans to the goat, and he's just like, oh, well, you know, we needed a virgin or something like that. So yeah, I'm pretty sure he fucks goat, which is, you know, weird, but I mean, what else is he gonna do? You know, he's not going out on nights out. Although we have seen some of the other, some of the other Tales from the Crypt sort of movies and stuff where he is out and about with real people. So I don't know, he's upgraded from goats to real people at some point. I don't know. But yeah, so it starts off a little bit weird, and then the actual episode it starts off, and I expected, you know, that we were going to get the Baywatch theme tune, you know, like some people stand in the darkness. That one. I can sing the whole thing. I'm not going to. And then there's a shitload of parrots as well. Not on the beach. They're not on the beach. They're like in this person's fancy, swanky, like penthouse. I did think that the parrots were going to come back in a bigger way. And I thought, because this is one of course, one of the episodes that I like remember. I remember quite a lot of the episodes of watching them throughout the years. And this is one I remember. But I thought that the parrots like came back in a big way. But they do right at the end, but not in the way that I remembered. So that was a bit disappointing. But quite honestly, boring stuff in this. Stuff is not really necessarily that interesting. Already predictable. There's, of course, we get the sex scene, but I've realised that every sex scene is ruined for me now, especially if they're in like the 80s or 90s or whatever, because I always expect it to involve bacon and eggs and frying them on somebody's stomach, because Hot Shots has absolutely ruined sex scenes. So even in modern day, I'm expecting, you know, somebody to get some bacon and eggs out. Anybody that's watched Hot Shots has probably had it ruined for themselves as well. But yeah, this is just like a pretty standard plot. Nothing really massively happens. There's nothing like supernatural really about it. It just feels like, once again, you know, I said this in the previous episodes, where we've jumped up to season 2. We've jumped up in regards to episode numbers. You know, not everyone is necessarily going to be a banger. Only the ideal world would every episode be absolutely incredible. Not every single one is. And some of the episodes feel like a bit like filler episodes, where it's just like, well, we've got this pretty decent idea. I think we know where we could go with it, but we're just going to do it, and it is what it is. And this is what this episode is. This movie is basically, this episode is what it is. It has a story, it has a structure, it has a few odd moments, like somebody falling over a balcony is always fun to see. I mean, that's probably the wrong way of putting it, but it looks good on camera. So, you know, but this one, quite honestly, I was bored shitless until a certain someone arrives. He does actually have an arm in this one, Michael Ironside, who seems to lose his arm in every movie. But Michael Ironside turns up, and you think that he's going to save this episode. And for the moments he's in it, yeah, he does. He makes it a bit more interesting, and then of course, it makes the episode a little bit more sinister in regards to what he's trying to do, and it makes it a lot darker. Um, but it still doesn't really save it because it's still pretty fucking boring. This is, as I said, this is the type of episode that makes you think of the ones that you've seen before that you thought weren't very good. Then you realise they were actually quite good, and this one's not. And then, of course, the Crypt Keeper at the end, once again, he's doing some wild shit. It's funny. I give this one out of 5 creepy cackles. Like I said, I don't know if I mentioned it at the start, but everything's rated by creepy cackles because unfortunately I wasn't clever enough to think of something else. I wish I had. Maybe I'm not going to do this. I should have got John Cassier to do a creepy cackle voice. I'm not just going to steal it I'm not going to rip it from YouTube or something. That's just not fair. But yeah, 1 out of 5, not good, pretty boring, pretty standard. Thought Ironside was going to save it. Thought he might lose his arms at some point. He doesn't, and there was no Baywatch theme, so that's a bit of a letdown. But yeah, not a great episode, but still, like with everything, still watchable, but just not as watchable as a lot of the other ones. Anyway, let's get into episode 8. So episode 8 is called For Crying Out Loud. In this one, a greedy rock promoter named Marty Slash, weird name, who steals charity money intended for the Amazon rainforest, is soon plagued by a guilt-ridden voice in his head. Not only, this one's funny because not only does the Crypt Keeper talk about fingering, then he does an awful pun, and basically he has this wig on, and it sort of makes him look like Buffalo Bill in Silence of the Lambs. So yeah, great intro from the Crypt Keeper, from talking about like fingering to wearing a wig that makes him look like Buffalo Bill, like classic Crypt Keeper stuff. But yeah, this one, I mean, weird that his name's Marty Slash, like almost as if we didn't know that Slash was, an incredibly famous rock musician. If you don't know who Slash is, I suppose it doesn't matter. But if you do, then you're like, maybe they should have done they could have called him Marty Bon Jovi. I don't know, and we still would have known. So they could have done different name. It's just lazy, right? They're like, oh shit, he's a rock club promoter. Let's give him a rock band music name, so to speak. But yeah, we get a crazy intro with the Crypt Keeper. And at the start, straight away, we get essentially like what happens at the end of the episode. Once again, Tales from the Crypt, they love the electrocution chair because he literally legs it to the electrocution chair rather than like William Sadler or Bill Sadler, as we know from the first episode of Tales from the Crypt, where he doesn't want to get it. This guy absolutely wants to gets electrocuted, and of course we find out in the episode as to why that is. But it's pretty funny. And also when I was watching it, I kept on thinking like the main guy in it. I was like, who is this guy? Because I've seen him in a lot, and I'm sure loads of you out there will be like, yeah, he's in this, he's this and this. And I was sitting there and I was like, I don't know who it is. And then I realised he's in Pirates of the Caribbean. He keeps on calling Elizabeth Swann Poppet. That's him. So there we go. Just in case anybody wanted to know. Iggy Pop is in this for a moment. Him telling the crowd to shut the fuck up was hilarious because it looked like he meant it. Like he didn't say it in a rock way. It was almost as if like they've been on set all day. Everybody's making too much noise because he's just trying to get some lines out, and he's just like, shut the fuck up. Like, I've had enough of this shit. Iggy Pop just wants to go and, I don't know, drink something, some Bloody Marys or something like that. I don't know, and not eat because of his body. But yeah, him telling him shut the fuck up is actually hilarious because it looks like he absolutely meant it. And also, he does say the word fuck at least a zillion times in the small moment that he's actually on the screen. He's not in it a lot, but when he is, it's F-bombs left, right, and centre. But already, this one feels more Tales from the Crypt in regards to story and concept, but also the creativity side of it. Like, it just feels like a bit unique, a bit different, a bit weird. That's sort of what you want from Tales from the Crypt. When it goes back to these sort of like more normalized ones, unless it's done and crafted really well, like one of the episodes I spoke about before, which is one of my favorite, which I think is Three's a Crowd. I think it was that one, but that one where it's the guy that's the alcoholic who thinks his wife is cheating. I'm not going to say anything more than that, but that episode is an episode that is grounded more in reality. You know, of course, you know, like that sort of shit can happen, right? But it's so expertly crafted. But then we get like, say, like the episode that's sort of before this one, where Ironside is in it and he still can't even save it, and it's set in realism and stuff. It just doesn't really work for me, that episode, because it's just fucking boring. This episode, we go back to sort of like the quirkiness, the weirdness, the more unique storytelling side of what Tales from the Crypt is, and that's what makes it fun, because it makes it different, it makes it interesting and intriguing, and we're excited to see what journey this character goes on. We already know, as we all know from Tales from the Crypt, that predominantly a lot of the time the main character or the people that are around them are bad people, or doing very questionable things. And that's the journey we're on. Like, that's what's so interesting about Tales from the Crypt. We're not following necessarily a lot of the time good people. We're following people that are doing some not very nice things or aren't very good people. And this guy clearly isn't, because, like I said in the synopsis, he's already basically made a fake charity to make like $1 million that he's trying to run away with. So he's already an absolute son of a bitch. But this one, as I said, it's more fun, and I really enjoy it. And the fact that he basically ends up having this voice in his head that is just basically, you know, telling him, you know, all this sort of stuff and that, and that's so much fun. The way that they're doing it, the way that he's reacting to it, the way that it's constantly escalating. We get obviously like some wild moments where obviously, you know, you get the bit earlier on where you know it's going to get a bit messed up, where the doctor's like, you can use these Q-tips, you know, these cotton buds, but you have to only use them slightly. And you know, like, oh yeah, he's jamming them right in his ear at some point. And of course he does, and one gets bloody stuck in there. But when it's happening, it's like, you know, it's one of those moments where, like, as a human being, you have that like reaction reflex sort of to it, where you're like, oh shit, like, that feels gross. I don't want that shit to happen to me, you know. So that's always fun. So there's a lot of really fun moments. Of course, we get like the bit where the woman is basically like trying to chat him up and then tries blackmailing him, and that's fun. And of course, he ends up murdering her, and adds to the fact that he's a horrible person, and this head, you know, this thing inside his head, this second voice, is telling him what to do, and it's just so much fun. It's a really good fun episode. I do like it. It gives a crazy performance. And also, I thought he looks like a really good Uncle Fester from the Addams Family as well. So if they ever needed to do another one, he could do Uncle Fester. Although they have done another one, haven't they, recently for Netflix, and it was shit. Unless you like Wednesday, then good for you. I didn't. But yeah, so it's a good episode. But once again, when it comes to like the ranking side of it, I have to keep on thinking of like the episodes that I have liked before it in regards to ranking. Like, are there episodes better than this? Yes. Are there episodes better than the ones that are better than this? Yes. So this is, you know, pretty much right bang in the middle, if not a little bit more. You know, so I'll give it a 3. I'm going to give it 3 out of 5 creepy cackles. Some people might think that might be a little bit low, but in regards to some of the other episodes, you know, even though I've not really said that there's much that like is a negative to this one, and I think there is a lot of things to like about it. But do you know what? Sod it. Let's give it. There's 4 out of 5 creepy cackles. There we go. I've bloody changed it because I do enjoy it. The more you think about it, it's enjoyable. It's fun. It's very Tales from the Crypt like, is in, or it's the right way of where Tales from the Crypt stories go, or you know, of what they're supposed to be. So yeah, fuck it. 4 out of 5 creepy cackles. I've changed it. There you go. Before people go, no, it's better than that. Sod it. Anyway, let's go. Let's move on to episode 9. So episode 9, it's a this is a dark episode, it really is. But a 4-sided triangle. I'm going to get into it all. But a young woman escapes the police by hiding on a lonely farm, but the cruel farmers trap her and force her to work the farm. After a brutal assault from the male on the farm, she loses her mind and falls in love with a scarecrow, whilst the male is making disgusting sexual advances towards her. It's a fucked up episode. Directed by Tom Holland, you will know, obviously created Fright Night, but also the first Child's Play movie. So you're expecting this one to be an absolute banger. Well, no. This one does have the beautiful Patricia Arquette in this movie, in this episode, but unfortunately, the sexualization of her in this episode is absolutely wild, and the things that the characters do to her in this episode is just wild. It's just, this episode is, for me, out of all the episodes I watch, like, there are things that are fucked up that happens in the episodes, and like, once again, like I already mentioned, Three's a Crowd, like the, the one where the alcoholic thinks his wife is having an affair. When we get the, like, the truly dark, sinister moments of the ending of that, it works because it makes sense for the story, but it adds the impact, and then you're sitting there like, fuck, like, that's insane. This one is just dirty, and it makes you feel unsettled and uncomfortable. I I don't like this types of sort of stuff. I don't want to see this sort of stuff. And it just feels like it was an episode purely almost just for that. And I don't like that. So I don't like this episode. As I said, it's a super dark episode, just full of angry people and perverts, sexual assault. It's gross. Of course, it ain't bloody real. I understand that, but it's a TV series, and it just felt like there really isn't much of a story. It's just a girl that is obviously troubled, and ends up on this farm with these, an angry woman, a perverted man, and then it's just, the episode just goes through the notions of that. But unfortunately, she obviously is troubled and falls in love with a scarecrow that ends up being even more fucked up. You know what I mean? And the good thing about this episode is, I mean, the thing that's different about this episode, I suppose, is that you're not necessarily following a character. Your main character of it is this girl who's not necessarily, she's not a bad person, unless she's done some awful things before that I didn't catch or don't know about. Then yeah, she's not necessarily a bad person. It's the bad things that are happening to her, which is a little bit different to a lot of what has happened in a lot of the Tales from the Crypt episodes so far. But it's just the fact that it's just not a nice episode. I just don't like this episode at all. It's interesting. There were things that made this episode interesting for me, was the fact that, like, I kept on thinking of things. So, like, it's very Texas Chainsaw like, obviously, with the things that are going on. It looks quite Texas Chainsaw like, and also just the gross, way that they are, these people. It feels very Texas Chainsaw Massacre-esque as well. And also, what's interesting is that the house that they're in, I mean, it could be, it could not be, I don't know. I didn't look into it. I'm not looking further into it. But the outside of the house, it looked like the house from Ty West's movie X, the one with, like, Mia Goth and everything. It looks like that. But on top of that, and this is why I'm wondering whether Ty West saw this episode and it was the bloody influence. Now, I'm not saying that it is, and it probably isn't, but it might be. He might have seen this movie, this episode. I keep saying movie. They're like little movies, but he might have seen this episode and taken bits from it, because, of course, the house looks like the house in X that they living in this episode from the outside. But also, she falls in love with a scarecrow. And what's that like? Pearl. So I don't know. Ty West, is he, like, not told anybody that he just, like, likes this episode of Tales from the Crypt? Not that he should like it, but yeah. So that, for me, was more interesting than the actual episode, because throughout this episode, it just keeps on, like, getting more uncomfortable and more unsettling. And of course, the thing is a lot of people can look at that and then go, well, isn't that what, like, horror is? If it's like, it's a different type of horror, because it makes you feel something. It makes you feel, dirty and gross and stuff, because you're watching something like this. And also, it's interesting that that's come from someone like Tom Holland. I know that there's, like, in his movies, there might be that there's not these sort of, like, to the extent of this sort of elements, like in Child's Play is not like this. Fright Night, you might have some busty babes in it and stuff like that, but it's not necessarily too much like this just feels like it's an episode purposely to make you feel unsettled and uncomfortable, and not really have too much of a story apart from a dirty bastard being gross and disgusting towards, Patricia Arquette. And yeah, so I really don't like this episode. It just didn't work. I was going to give it 2 out of 5 creepy cackles for, just to be lenient, but honestly, I don't know, like, do I give it 2? Do you know what? My gut is saying 1 out of 5 creepy cackles, because this isn't one, like, there is always going to be episodes where you're like, oh, I want to watch this one again. Like when I've gone through all of this, like I have done in the past, there's certain episodes you're like, that's an episode I love, I'm going to watch it. Or like, even if I decided in the future, I'm like, do you know what? I'm just going to watch them all again. This is an episode that I'll just flat out skip. So yeah, it does deserve the 1 out of 5. The only reason I was going to give it 2 out of 5 is purely because Patricia Arquette is great in it, because she's always bloody great. But also the fact that the guy does get his comeuppance in a horrible way, and it's not necessarily Patricia Arquette that does it. And I like the fact that he gets his comeuppance in a horrible way, which is almost worth an extra rating. But no, sod it. 1 out of 5. Don't like this one. It's just shouldn't I don't know. Shit like this doesn't need to be made. You know what I mean? And simple as that. But there we go. That is the next three, these 3 episodes. What's that? 7, 8, and 9? Probably. I might have forgotten that. But yeah, 7, 8, and 9. I think of season 2, and then of course we keep going through season 2, and then we keep going to the next season and the next season, and every episode. And of course, when we get to the end of every season, I'll give you my overall favorite episode of that season. But I'm enjoying this, and I hope you are too. Like I always say, I was going to go through Tales from the Crypt anyway, the series, to the fact that we get to now just have it on Shudder to pop on whenever we want. It gives me an opportunity to go through it all again, but it gives anybody an opportunity that's never seen Tales from the Crypt. Finally, they get the opportunity. If they've got Shudder, they get the opportunity to go and watch them all, and hopefully, enjoy something from a time of a thing of the past that doesn't, get made sort of anymore, especially like this. But yeah, I really enjoy it. Even if some of the episodes are shit or gross, I enjoy it, and I was going to do it anyway. So why not bring you along on the journey? So I'm enjoying it. I hope that you are too. Hope you're enjoying this side series as well. So keep watching as we keep going through Tales from the Crypt with Tales from the Creepzone. Please make sure you subscribe. It don't cost you nothing. It's just literally a button there. Just keep it clicked, subscribe, and anything that comes out, like these episodes or anything else I do, well then you'll get told. You're like, he's got a new video out or a new episode or something. Just subscribe. It's free. It don't cost you nothing, but it helps me out in a big way. But until next time, stay creepy, fuckers.